Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with all of you. I feel like we're wall to wall and representing so many facets of the issue ahead of us. Thank you for coming. I'm Kara Lee. I'm a Mohawk Consultations board member. And right off the bat, I want to thank my fellow board members for all their contributions to making today come together. I think you can tell from what Louisa had to say that Mohawk Consultations is not a single issue organization. Our programs have spanned many different aspects of the environment, farming, human rights, and peace building over many decades. I feel like today's event and today's conference really cross-cuts all those topics. And it's designed, with you all here, to stimulate dialogue and greater collaboration that we hope will lead to solutions. And maybe we can do some of the simplifying that Thomas suggested. We're so pleased to be offering this program focusing on the pressing need for affordable housing in our region and the need to continue to preserve open space. Two things that are rarely said in the same breath and perhaps seen as mutually exclusive. Ostensibly two different missions, but both ultimately tied to how we approach land use and basic human needs now and in the future. Land conservation has a very long history in the Hudson Valley and has demonstrably been successful. What lessons from that success can we apply to address affordable housing needs that will result in better outcomes for both people and nature? How can we weave together affordable housing options and open space protection to create healthy, more equitable, and more climate resilient communities? These are some of our questions for today. Jen Metzger. We are so happy to have you, our Ulster County executive, here today to share your thoughts and describe for us some of the things that Ulster County is doing to address these issues. Jen Metzger.
Thank you, Karen Lee. And hello, everyone. It's great to be here and see so many familiar faces. I want to thank Mohawk Consultations for bringing all the advocates together on, I want to say both sides, but I hate to kind of divide it into two sides, but, our, advocates for open space preservation and our housing advocates. I definitely consider myself an advocate for both. We are in a moment now, it's a housing emergency like we have never really known before, or at least in my lifetime. And I have very personal feelings about it because I grew up in a family that experienced housing instability. We were never homeless, but because we couldn't afford a place to live, we were moving all the time, living with different relatives, in different house sitting arrangements, renting different places. And so I have a real familiarity with what it feels like as a child, to have that kind of instability. Right now, one of the county's roles is to place our residents in emergency housing when they need it. 2 years ago, the average stay for families in emergency housing was about 4 months. Today, it is 20 months. Now, you're not staying in one place for 20 months because we don't have a lot of emergency housing options. People have to be placed in motels. They can stay there for limited amounts of time. So just imagine families moving from place to place. While your kids are in school, it's disruptive to your education, it's disruptive to your employment. It is, a huge contributor to anxiety, depression, and mental health issues. So This is very real and huge for way too many families. And we have seen a huge increase in the number of our residents in emergency housing. It was always around 300, 350 maybe people that we were placing, which is a lot. But in October it was over 500. And a lot of that growth, that increase was among families. So we need solutions now, right now. When I came into office, when I was in the state senate, I was working on housing issues. We passed a big package of legislation that included the Emergency Tenant Protection Act, which Kingston has joined. And I had Kingston in mind when we were working on that because of their severe housing shortages, and now New Paltz is considering joining. We have to expand, we have to protect the housing that we have, to preserve and protect the housing we have, and we do have to expand the stock of housing, and that can be redevelopment. It doesn't have to be, greenfield development, but there's going to be some greenfield development. There just is, because the shortage of housing is too huge. And we have to make sure we do it in a smart way. But the fact is, we have lots of options. We have solutions. The solutions exist to address both the climate crisis and the housing crisis at the same time. So when I came into office early on in my State of the County address, I had proposed creating a housing action fund, which the legislature, I see Laura Petit here today. Laura was also on that housing advisory committee 2 years ago, and this was actually one of their top recommendations, was to create this fund. We are seeding it with $15 million from our excess fund balance, and I have proposed to ensure that we have the funds we need on an ongoing basis. I proposed dedicating 25% of our occupancy tax revenues to that fund on an annual basis, which is incredibly important. Another 25% going to public transportation, which is another important piece of this linked to how we plan for housing. So we're very excited about this fund. Its purpose is to catalyze healthy, green, affordable housing. And again, this is our climate solutions and our housing solutions have to be of a piece. Housing has to be energy efficient, it has to be all electric, and it has to be affordable for at least 50 years. So we are standing up the committee. We've just appointed the committee that will oversee this fund. They'll be having their first meeting soon. This is absolutely necessary to incentivize the right kind of housing, but it's not all we need. Because a lot of it has to do with our land use policies and practices. Another piece of this I saw, oh wait, how much time do I have, Karen? A tiny bit? Okay. All right. Well, fortunately, you're going to hear from Kai Farmer later, who's on the panel, who's right up front. Actually, I'd like to point out Kai, our senior planner in the second row, whose full-time job is basically housing, and Kristen Wilson, deputy director, who's of planning, who has also had done a lot of work on housing and will continue to, and Kevin Lynch, our economic development director. All of us are united around a vision of building a resilient, sustainable, thriving Ulster County that leaves no one behind, and that means tackling the housing crisis and climate crisis simultaneously. The Housing Smart Communities program was started before I came in by the county. It's an awesome program that is meant to help our municipalities advance housing policies that promote smart growth, smart development, and protect existing affordable housing. That could be through regulations on short-term rentals, which is a very important topic to focus on, and one compatible with our climate goals, because it's about preserving what we have. Oh, I got 5 seconds. Okay. And also incentivizing the right kind of housing development. It's a great program. We have 11 municipalities participating so far. We have other programs that we've launched. Just recently, we launched a program for small landlords. It's a grant program that provides funding to make investments to improve energy efficiency, health and safety issues in buildings. In exchange, they have to keep the housing affordable, 30% of tenants' income for at least 5 to 7 years. So we're constantly working on ways as a county to incentivize these things, but ultimately the biggest challenges and the solutions are at the municipal level. It's towns and villages that control land use policies, and we want to support them in advancing solutions that work for our communities. I'm going to stop there, but this is an important work that we have before us. It's absolutely vital work. I actually want to say just one more thing. Sorry, this is my last point. But we have, NIMBYism it's starting, people's perceptions of affordable housing are starting to shift, but NIMBYism is still a huge issue that stalls projects, stops them from getting built. And this is like a psychological issue. We have to change the way we think about our communities and think about development, about affordable housing specifically. And we have to do a lot more education and outreach into our communities to make people understand that we need housing for everyone, every single member of our community, regardless of what your income level is, what your background is, who you look like, everything. We need to be supporting diverse, affordable communities. So I hope that gets talked about today, because changing perceptions is fundamental to getting the political will to address these issues. Thank you very much.